Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Semi-Pro. Today, me and Daniel talk about Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties.
They made a second one?
Well, I mean, technically it's not Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties.
Right, it's just Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties, but it's tail like a cat's tail, like a kitty cats, and there's two tails.
I hate
this.
There's
two kitties.
I
thought that this wasn't the worst movie we've watched.
No, I think the Shyamalan goggles have just finally worn off.
Yeah, that is true. They haven't fully worn off for me yet. But I
went into this movie a little apprehensive, and me, Bobbin, and Josh watched it together, and they were both like, "Oh, quit being so cynical! Like it's gonna be fine. It's just gonna be a fun little quirky Garfield movie." And then by the end, they all also hated it.
It was a
especially
fun, quirky
Josh.
Little Garfield movie for most of it.
I would say maybe the first act was a fun, quirky little Garfield movie.
I like the first two acts, I think.
I don't know.
I like at least half of this movie.
The stuff after they swap bodies or
right,
places.
After the princess swap.
After the Prince and Garfield swap, that's when I'm kind of out of it. I'm kind of like,
Well, I was kind of out of it the whole movie.
Well, yeah. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. But one thing I want to mention before we really get into it is I was looking at some of the promotional material for this movie. Like I was looking at the posters and whatnot, and they all have the exact same weird quirk about them where Garfield is squinting in all of them. Like Garfield the cat from the Garfield the Cat comic books.
Right. He squints.
But he doesn't do that in the movie ever. And in every poster he does it. And so it really threw me off.
He doesn't squint even once in the movie. That can't be true.
That's another thing too. All of the other animals are real animals. And so if you're going for...
That was another weird thing. So I know this is a really weird nitpick, but the continuity of animal communication in this movie was lost on me.
There's only one that can't talk.
Yeah, and it's Odie. Is it just because he's
Odie.
dumb? Is that
that's what we established last night. We established last night.
A fucking idiot.
Yes, we established last night that Odie likely has some sort of mental problem. Josh is joining us now. He's late. I'm docking his pay.
Oh no, God, no, please.
No.
What's funny about it is, like Odie has some sort of mental disorder, and Garfield keeps bullying him for it.
Right.
And then Prince starts beating him for it.
No, Prince was nice.
He was famous for affection.
Odie. Yeah, he called him a gentleman and a scholar.
Yeah, but I don't know. Here's my thing. If you're going to use real animals and you're going to make a live-action Garfield movie, and Garfield is a cat, do you need a stylized CGI cat, or can you get a real cat?
I think I'm glad they went with the stylized, because I don't think normal cat, like there are fat orange tabby cats, but it's
right. They don't look like
stylized I think stylized CGI Garfield works.
I don't know. Maybe you could have put that cat in like prosthetics. Get the cat from Stuart Little.
Don't get the cat from Stuart Little.
Get the cat from Stuart Little and give him some hair dye.
Well, like when we were watching it, you made a point of saying, why is Garfield CG? Why not do everyone as CG? Or why not get a real cat for Garfield? And at the time, I was just thinking maybe they couldn't train a cat in time. You know, dogs are pretty easy to train, but cats probably require a bit more work. And then they showed the rest of the real animals, and they were all trained really, really well.
Not only that, they made a cow bow. They made a cow bow down to his king.
Yeah,
a bull.
As soon as that happened, in my mind, I just went, okay, yeah, no, I think I don't know what the clue was. I don't know what's happening in this movie. I don't know what's going on. I've lost the plot.
Like
Yeah.
it.
And
I
there
don't
was
know.
no plot to begin with.
I just wish that was consistent.
I like John Arbuckle. He's a funny little fella.
Yeah, I liked
He
Argyle
was
from Stranger Things.
he was a good character. Like Jonathan Arbuckle.
So we'll go into the plot. So it opens with opening
This movie had a
narration.
plot?
It kinda. So we open with opening narration, and we don't open on Garfield because we had a whole movie dedicated to him. And maybe I'd like this better had I seen the first one.
That's what I kept thinking, but then I also
I
kept
don't think that's
thinking,
true. Like,
yeah, like I feel like I would enjoy the first Garfield less than I enjoyed this.
because this one's such a weird
Right.
concept for a movie. Because it's like, how do you make a Garfield movie, right? Like, you make him hate Mondays.
Yeah, like I'm
Well-
trying to imagine what a plot to the first Garfield movie would have been. Like,
I'm thinking
'cause
origin
this movie
story.
barely had a plot.
He hates Mondays. That's,
Right.
You
He
know,
loves lasagna.
loves lasagna. That's it.
I'm
Yeah.
That's what you
thinking.
need.
I'm thinking the first Garfield movie is likely
It was,
an
it was definitely something. Yeah, it was something about John meeting Liz and,
And
him not liking her because she's a vet and he's racist.
And he's misogynistic, so he hates women.
Right.
I think that's implied.
That is canon and
Yeah,
Garfield,
Garfield
that he hates women.
Well, also Mondays. So
He
Right.
hates-
Yeah.
He hates women and he hates people with who are stupid, especially dogs.
Correct.
so
He
bullies
hates
them.
dogs with
we open on opening
mental
narration.
disabilities.
There's opening narration, and this narrator, who's a British man, I think it was the butler who did the narration.
It wasn't. I looked it up. The guy who did the narration is pretty famous.
It doesn't matter.
It was
I'm gonna look it up.
John
It's gonna
Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, actually.
His
gonna
name is
bug me,
my
but-
name, actually. Daniel, we share
Really?
a name.
That is
Whenever we go out,
wild.
it's super weird because people are always like yelling at us. Anyway, back to the plot.
Oh, the narrator was a guy called Roscoe Lee Brown.
Oh yeah, real famous guy.
Roscoe
Yeah,
Brown, the air conditioning unit man.
He was he's in a lot of stuff. He was in Epic movie as the narrator. Apparently he was the voice of Kingpin in the Spider-Man animated series.
All right, so we open on opening narration, and it starts breaking down this plot, and we don't get to Garfield. Like we're not going to Garfield. Instead, we go to a castle, and it's the same castle that they used for. What did they use it for? Oh, it was in Bridgerton, which is a show I've seen. And I thought it was the castle from X-Men First Class. It is not. It's a different castle. Anyway, so we open on this castle, and this woman has just died. And she was the owner of the estate. Like, it was her castle. It was her land, all of the stuff. So she owned it. And instead of leaving it to her nephew because she didn't have any children, she decides to leave it to her cat named Prince, who is voiced by whom, Josh? Who voices Prince the cat?
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry
Yeah,
voices Prince
it's
the cat.
Tim Curry. Pennywise himself.
Yeah.
And he does great.
The
He's
cat in that one episode of Psych.
Prince the cat is my favorite character in this movie.
I was a big fan of Prince the cat.
And we'll get there as we go. But so he gets left the estate, and the British man who is the nephew is really upset about it because he's like, they left it to a cat. I had all of these plans for what I was going to do when my aunt died. Yada yada yada.
Just
He was
for
the evil
reference.
mustachioed British man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just for reference, the British man is Billy Connolly, who has been in just so many things.
Yeah.
You nobody cares. He's British, Josh.
He's a very British comedian.
British people can only rise.
Mustachioed British man.
British
I
people
won't
can only
stand-
rise to true fame when they do an American accent and pretend to be an American person. That's the only time they can be truly famous.
I
What do you
will
guys
not
think of
stand
the,
for the Billy
the
Connolly
ferret?
slander.
What do you guys think of the ferret getting drunk in this movie? Do you like that?
I
like the
did. I
drunk
liked that
ferret
little bit.
Yeah, I was a fan.
Also a big
So,
fan of that drunk
After this,
ferret.
we cut back to Garfield in his little suburban neighborhood with his owner, John Arbuckle, and his dog, Odie, the dog. And John Arbuckle has decided that he's going to propose to his girlfriend, Liz, who Garfield does not like, for she is a woman and a vet.
That's weird enough in its own, because you think, like, with the progression of the first one is he doesn't like Liz, and then by the end of the movie he likes Liz, and so in this movie you think he would like Liz and and wouldn't mind, John settling down with her.
Josh,
Yeah, but he's
It's
There's
Garfield,
there's
A
no
Tale of Two
consistency
Kitties.
there's no consistency between the two Garfields.
Well, how do you know that that's the plot of the first Gar? We were just spitballing. We don't know that for sure. Have you seen the first Garfield movie?
I might.
Okay.
So Garfield's upset. He hides the wedding ring. He eats the entire raw Thanksgiving turkey, which is just not fully cooked. Me and Bobbin talked about that for minutes. So he eats the entire Thanksgiving turkey. He hides the ring. She has to go because she came over to tell John that she's got this offer to go over to England to check out this woman's estate. Like that's what she gets to go do.
Right.
We don't do much focusing on her throughout the movie. We just know that that's what she's going to do because she's a vet, which is fine. I don't really mind not focusing on her too much because I don't care about her. So John Arbuckle decides, and this is kind of where the plot really kicks off. He decides that he is going to propose, and so he's going to fly to London to do so. So he drops off Odie and Garfield, the dog and cat, respectively.
Real quick, Josh. The plot of Garfield, the film.
I just looked it up.
2004,
Yeah,
It's about him and Odie,
yeah.
growing to like each other.
It's
So,
Toy
you're
Story,
stupid
but
and an idiot. Although
it's
he
Toy
also
Story.
doesn't like Odie in this, so your points does still stand.
right.
I don't know that he doesn't
the-
not like him as much as he
He just bullies
Abuses
him.
him, abuses
Yeah.
him, and
he,
kicks him.
he acts like a big brother towards him,
Right.
but he's also
He-
the worst.
He's also just a horrible asshole.
I listened to this last night when we were watching Daniel, but under
You were
Garfield
watching
2,
me? That's weird.
in Garfield 2, I was looking at the trivia on IMDb, and there's one piece of trivia that just says Citizen Kane walked so Garfield 2 could eat lasagna.
True.
So
That's a fact. It's on the trivia.
at the boarding place, Garfield and Odie break out of their room in the board, which led to my favorite joke in the movie, which was Garfield like banging on the glass like it was prison. That was great.
I like
Oh
that.
yeah,
Big
and saying
fan.
you can't do this. I have rights.
Yeah, he starts reading his Miranda rights to himself. It was great.
Bro, think he saw Goodman.
So he breaks out and he jumps in John Arbuckle's car. They drop his clothes and they hide in his suitcase so that they can go on the plane to London. And so they go to London, and this is kind of where our plot really kicks off. We got the A plot, which is Prince and his.
Just every time you say plot, it makes me laugh because the plot is very loose.
I mean,
Oh man, there's a plot.
It's a situation.
I think this has just as much of a plot as Yogi Bear 2.
well, yes, but that's
I know.
not saying much.
Right, especially since the movie doesn't exist.
Yogi Bear 2 doesn't have much of a plot in the first place.
It was
Because
just a
doesn't
rehash of Yogi
exist.
Bear 1.
It's just a rehatch of Yogi Bear 1. Yeah.
So we have our A plot, which is Prince and his estate and all of the animals who live there, because the woman who lived there before just loved animals. Like farm animals, she loved house animals. She just loved animals. There's a racist parrot who doesn't like the barn animals, and so they're all of them.
Classist animal.
And the nephew, he wants to get rid of the animals to put up a bunch of condos or something next to the castle.
Well, yeah, he wants to get rid of the castle so that he could renovate it all and sell it.
Typical rich villain plot. He wants to tear down the good thing that's good for the environment and animals and make big money thing to make money from.
Well, Josh, he
Does he
doesn't
like
want to tear
money?
down the castle. The castle would stay. There's just condos next to the castle, so that the tourist can come and walk past the castle, but they
Right.
can stay in the
He
condos.
wants to tear down the woods and the
Right,
the
that
barn.
was
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
Wants to tear down the woods and the barn. So they would all be kicked out. So they need Prince to stay as the They need Prince to continue to own the estate for as long as possible, so that this guy doesn't get the power to rid the animals of their home. But evil British man picks up Prince, also known as Fake Garfield, in a picnic basket, which is a running theme, and he throws him in the river, and he winds up in the sewer. And this is where the movie falls apart for me. I really enjoy it up to this point.
This is where the movie falls apart.
This is where I there's some stuff throughout the rest of it that I still like, but this is where I don't care as much. I love the idea of rich posh Garfield and regular Garfield having to swap place for a time. Like I think that's a brilliant concept to base this movie on. I just think
I think brilliant is maybe a stretch, but yeah, I see where you're coming from.
It was an idea.
you're right.
Yeah.
It was at least a plot. I'll give it that.
This is the Attack of the Clones of concepts. So Garfield decides to leave the hotel room to go and search for John so that John can't propose to Liz. And so him and Odie leave. And
Garfield hates women.
and so as he's walking down the street, the butler, who is just Alfred, just straight up Alfred from Batman the Animated Series, looks like him, talks like him. He's a British butler, which I guess every British butler technically is Alfred. But anyway, so he sees Garfield the cat, and he picks up Garfield the cat, and he thinks he's Prince because the humans can't understand the cat's talking. And Garfield the cat's freaking out a little bit, but then there's a mince pie in the car, which Josh claims is a Christmas food. So I'm assuming this movie takes place at Christmas time. And he eats the entire pie, and then he goes to the castle to live his life of luxury. At the same time that he does this, Prince the cat gets out of the sewer and gets found by John Arbuckle and taken back to John Arbuckle's hotel room. So now they have effectively swapped bodies. And that's the first act of our movie.
Yeah. That is the only part of the movie, really, that has a plot. Because everything after this is just...
Oh man, there was the plot of Garfield not liking British food and British Garfield liking
that's just...
lasagna.
As someone who eats British food, it's not a plot, that's just life.
Yeah.
I really thought what they were going to do, and this is what I would have loved to have seen them do, is I really thought they were going to do like the reversal where Garfield hates his spot as royalty. Because you would think he would love that, right? Like he gets to be lazy all the time. He gets to eat all the food he ever wants. It's Garfield's perfect situation.
Right, he gets waited on like by a butler who cares for him.
So the traditional thing that you would do in this is Garfield would love that situation, and Tim Curry Cat Prince would hate his situation. And what I was really hoping they would do, because it would have been something interesting, is like role reverse those.
It would have been something
where Garfield likes his position. Or Garfield hates his position, and Prince the cat loves his. And so when Garfield's like, I want to go back to John Arbuckle, Prince the cat turns into the bad guy, and he's like, no, I will not let you. Like, I think that would have been something interesting that they could have done, but they don't really do that. They both just kind of at the end come around, but I won't spoil it.
Other up.
Yeah, they just dap each other up and they become best friends. But I won't spoil the ending of this movie, even though I just did.
I do want to say, because this is after this point is when Garfield starts interacting with a lot of the animals who live in the castle, and the thing that surprised me, I'll say, I guess, is that first off, the British version of Odie was voiced by Bob Hoskins. And
he wasn't the British version of Odie. He was just another dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was the dog best friend of the Garfield cat.
But Odie is not Garfield's best friend.
Well, that's in Garfield 1. That's the plot development, Dalton.
Well, and also this dog was not his best friend. He was his servant.
It's just, and the plot of Garfield 1 isn't them becoming best friends. It's just them not being enemies. There's a lot of in between not hating each other and being best friends.
No.
Okay.
Also, this dog was Dog Alfred. He wasn't Odie.
No, he's Dog Alfred. But he was voiced by Bob Hoskins, which I'm not entirely sure why.
There was also the dog, the Tom and Jerry, the big comical Tom and Jerry dog.
No,
it was like a Doberman or something.
Yeah, that was voiced by Vinnie Jones, who most people know as Juggernaut from X-Men.
Most people know as sounding like Jason Statham. because that's who I thought it sounded like when I heard him.
Vinnie Jones
And
was
then-
a footballer who became an actor. But no, the thing
the
that
standout
weirded me out-
actor, the standout actor from the animals is the little British mouse who says, "Oh no, everybody, we've got to be careful or they'll kill us." Because that's what Josh sounds like in my head when he speaks. And so I loved hearing it.
That's what Josh sounds like when he speaks.
That's what I'm going to say is that a lot of the animals in this movie are voiced by British actors, yet they got them to say like, "Oi, Gov, what's going on, Gov? No,
How
we
British
get
people?
Oh, we're gonna
This
get
is how
through
British
this
people
one."
talk. What do you mean?
I've never heard anyone say Gov in my life.
Josh, do your impression of the mouse. Do it right now.
I can't remember what the mouse sounds like.
Oi, governor, it's me, I'm the mouse from Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties.
All right, Governor.
Who would win in a fight? The mouse from Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties, or Stuart Little?
Definitely Stuart Little.
but-
Stuart Little's from the
Stuart Little-
streets.
Stuart Little, but only because he would cheat.
You know good and well Stuart Little's got a tiny little Stuart Little sized gat that he is strapped up with at all times.
I don't know that good and
He's
well.
got, I don't know if he's got a guy. He's definitely got a knife, a piece of metal that he has sharpened
Right.
over years.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
got-
Yeah, he's got some sort of shiv in one of his little shoes.
Point is,
I
he
have-
has a
I have
mouse sized
photos of it.
weapon, and this mouse does not.
Are you going to tell me that Dali Mini has lied to me about the images it showed me?
Yes.
No, that makes sense.
My brother in Christ, you made those images. So all of the animals are now coping with having Garfield as their leader. They don't love Garfield, like he's not Prince. They really liked Prince.
Well, they're
but-
keeping him around because Billy
because
Connolly.
they need to use him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Evil
Billy Connolly-
mustachioed British man wants to kill them and serve them to the guests at his new condominiums.
Right, and then he keeps trying to call the lawyer and be like, "Hey, yeah, the cat's dead. Drowned by itself."
Yeah, I
Miracle.
didn't quite. Who
Did
was the blonde lady that he was hitting on?
That was the
Was
person
that just someone
who,
was that just like an investor that was gonna
right? I think
invest
that was
in the
just
place?
like that was a person who
And then he was
nature
also just
conservationist.
trying to date rape.
Right, he was being very creepy towards.
Right.
Yeah, that was a weird subplot. But I guess he's the bad guy, so you can do stuff like that. But it was weird.
Didn't really go anywhere though. Like there was
And
no
it-
point.
And it
other
was
than
played
just
for
to
jokes,
show that
which is
he's
why
Well,
it was.
right.
It does go somewhere in the third act. The movie takes a very big twist that we'll get into.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I don't know if twist is the right word, but
It's
sure.
a twist. It is
So-
a twist because I wasn't expecting it whatsoever.
So for the middle of the movie, what we see is basically just them adjusting to their new lives. Because they basically settled in. Well, Prince kind of wants to escape at first until he eats lasagna, and then he wants to stay.
Right.
And then there's probably the best scene in the movie where all the farm animals make a lasagna together.
And then
Which
they
is
go
just-
crazy.
Yeah,
'cause there's
that was
one lost
genuinely like a very wholesome, enjoyable scene.
Except for, think about all you know about Garfield. Would Garfield ever make his own lasagna? I don't think he would.
No,
think he's
but
too
he was-
lazy. I think he's too lazy and fat.
I think he would if that was the only way he could get lasagna. I think he loves lasagna more than he hates doing things.
I think he would probably just send the butler to the store to get a frozen lasagna.
Nah, I don't think so. How would he do that? How would the butler understand him?
I don't know. He kept bringing room service to him.
Yeah, but I don't think he could specify what he wanted. I think he just rang
No,
the
because
bell. and then,
the prince had a favorite food too that the butler would always bring to him: the Carlisle log.
yeah, and he didn't bring him that till like the movie was almost over.
Yeah. Well, that's what led into the lasagna scene. Do you think Garfield can write? Like Garfield just slips a piece of paper to the butler
gonna-
that just says lasagna.
Lasaga. I don't know, man. I don't.
So we see number one, John Arbuckle takes
no.
both Garfield and Odie to a sports bar, which is
This is like the weirdest part of the movie. Because, well, I say that the third act really dies down. But this entire section of the film, it doesn't really have
Would you
much.
call this a film?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. But like this entire section of the movie, I guess, um, it's it kind of gets across what it's trying to get across within 5 minutes, which is, oh, Garfield lives a life of luxury, and he's not a massive fan, or apparently he is a massive fan, even though he shouldn't be. And then Prince is enjoying his new thing, and it just goes on and on and on for 30 minutes
The
for no reason.
the middle act of this movie really drags. Not as much as the third act, but we'll get there. Because it's like
See,
I looked at the time.
I don't think the third act's dragged. I think it was just
A mess.
it just felt like a fever dream.
Yeah.
well, up until like the very, very end of that, I think it does. We'll get to that here momentarily. It's
Right.
but this part of the movie, it like nothing happens, and I get that they're setting up the ending, but the beginning was just setting up the middle, and it's like nobody has any real sort of arc. Nobody really. I guess Garfield learns to
Garfield
understand
learns-
John more. Like
Yeah, he learns to appreciate John and to not be misogynistic.
No, as misogynistic. He's still
Right.
pretty apprehensive by the end of the movie.
But nobody else
Um,
learns anything except for the
No,
bad
he
guy.
Wasn't, he wasn't apprehensive. He showed that he was accepting of the marriage because he brought the ring.
Yeah.
He basically proposed to Liz for John.
Yeah.
That was a nice,
Garfield
that was
is now
a
married
scene.
to Liz.
We didn't mention the joke earlier in the movie where
Oh, yeah,
Garfield
that
thought
was-
that
that
John
was a
was
good one.
proposing to him.
I
That
was,
was
I
good.
was a big fan of that.
But it
This movie has made me want to watch the first Bill Murray Garfield movie because I feel like I would enjoy that one more.
I think
Right, well-
maybe.
It's incredible how much Bill Murray like just phones it in for this.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bill Murray cares less than I've ever heard a voice actor playing a CGI animal care about the character they're
Tim
playing.
Curry cares more than Garfield. It
And
almost
he
feels like-
really doesn't care either.
I mean, all
Yeah.
the other voice actors seem to care more than Garfield.
Everybody in this
movie-
movie cares more than
this
Bill Murray
movie-
and Tim Curry.
this movie actively focuses on everything but Garfield and Prince because it knows they don't care.
Yeah. I like Prince more than I like Garfield. I liked the
Right.
Prince scenes, which is weird because I'm watching a Garfield movie. I shouldn't want to keep cutting back to British Garfield.
What did you guys think of the one scene that I remembered from this movie before I watched it last night, which was the fake mirror scene in the garden? What did you guys think of that one?
So that scene is one that I remembered was the fake mirror scene, and I also remembered the scene of Garfield and Odie just running through England when Odie pees on the dude's shoe.
And
he
I
says,
remember that.
"Oh,
and I
no!"
remembered the fake Garfield eats lasagna and likes it scene.
I don't know that I've actually seen this movie before. I thought I had, but I'm pretty sure that's just a trailer scene, and I've seen the trailer for this movie.
Maybe that's the overarching thing for this sweep is that Dalton thinks he's seen these movies, but he's just seen trailers.
I saw Yogi Bear.
Correct.
I just thought it was the sequel.
No, you saw Yogi Bear too.
Yeah, you saw Yogi Bear too. You've never seen the first Yogi Bear.
And well, the overarching theme for this movie is people saying racial slurs.
Well, not Pete. Just the evil mustachioed British man.
Yeah, but Yogi Bear also said it.
Right. Yeah.
So
Surprisingly, though, Stuart Little didn't, which is the one that you would expect. You know?
Yeah, that's
He
because
seems
he
like
lies.
He says
He
racial
lies
slurs.
about what he is. He knows.
well, no, Stuart Little was just about racism. So
You're right.
the theme of Real Sweep is racism is what we've gotten to.
Correct.
That's the
Don't-
point we're at.
Don kept asking me throughout the recording, is this representative of England in real life?
I was also thinking that. That's
It is
That-
not.
that was-
I'll just say this right now. It isn't. I mean, it's
for
reaching-
better or for worse.
It's reaching to a very specific point of British culture, which is like royalty and regalcy, where it's all very posh and all very rich. But even then, the point I was thinking of was when John gets into the hotel I have never seen a hotel like that. You don't get people who help you carry your bags up to the room. You don't give them tips. They won't shape you up for you, that was a weird scene. I just it was like it was a caricature of English culture.
What do you people talk like this?
I think that was even. I don't think that the concierge or whatever waiter guy was meant to be a British character. I think that was just a stereotypical hotel caricature.
Right. It was, yeah.
Because I remember a character like that in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
And The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
True.
His name was Esteban, and he's wearing the same outfit.
True.
This section of the podcast we call stalling because we've gone through the plot too quickly. But I guess we can go to
for
the
Bobbin
end.
to join.
We can go to the end because the third act because
it's not only that, but also this movie has very little of a plot to talk about.
Yeah,
it's
there's not much to talk about. It's just.
I think we'll talk about the third act for quite a bit, so we can go ahead and start there.
Well, the third act is when it goes from being a kind of mid movie to just batshit insane.
See, you say that, but that's like 3 minutes at the very end of the movie. When the third act starts with the mirror scene that Daniel was talking about. And then for the next 25 minutes, it's so unbelievably boring. And me and Bobbin were talking about this as we were watching, because we were talking throughout the whole movie. We were like laughing at stuff that was bad. We were talking about stuff we enjoyed.
That was fun. Must have been nice to be there.
Daniel was there. And then this started and it was silence. So like the mirror scene happens and that's a fun little thing. And then Prince and Garfield finally meet and the bad guy is trying to catch Prince. And Garfield says he's going to go back home to John Arbuckle and Prince just gives up. He's like, well, it's me, Tim Curry, and I'm going to give up. That's not what Tim Curry sounds like.
I think perhaps Tim Curry sounds nothing like that.
What I did earlier was better. We'll leave it here. It's like, I'm going to give up. We're going to move. We're going to find a new home. And then all of the other animals are like, okay, yeah, sure. Garfield's like, no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to fight and we're going to show him who's boss because I'm Garfield, a tale of two kitties. And so they hatch this plot. They basically they Toy Story him by trying to make him think he's crazy because there's two cats. Like it's the thing they did at the end of Toy Story with Sid where he found out the animals talked and he lost his mind because his brain melted. They try to do that. But then it's just like a 25-minute chase scene. And me and Bobbin were talking about it while we were watching, and we were like, man, and Bobbin just said, this is boring. Like, this is so boring, because it is. Nothing happens, and it goes on for so long. And then it gets crazy. And I like this part. Like, it's nuts, but I enjoy it.
I really liked the crazy, wacky stuff, but there just wasn't as much crazy, wacky stuff.
Oh, it was
as
him
I would hope
walking
from
around
a
the
Garfield
house.
movie.
It's him walking around the house, and then occasionally he would see Garfield, and he'll go, ah! And then people will ask why he's screaming, and he would just say nothing and move on. And it's just that.
And they did that bit so many times. Like,
because it's 25 minutes of that. It's 25 minutes of, oh, there's a cat. What? Nothing. Let's go to a different room.
Oh, there's a cat.
And then he tried to get the dog. He tried to get Jason Statham dog to kill him, but then he did
right. We didn't even talk about that part. That plot line that went nowhere whatsoever.
And the dog eats his pants.
Yeah.
Well, he gets like a Doberman and he tries to train him to kill Garfield because his entire, just shoot the cat. He was out shooting what do you call clay pigeons earlier.
Yeah, so he was skeet shooting.
Yeah, but if the dog, if he kills the cat, it's obvious he killed the cat, and he can't kill the cat because then he loses the estate.
He threw it in a river.
He put the cat in a picnic basket and threw it in the river.
Yeah, that could happen accidentally.
How?
If
Just
it comes
shoot the-
back that he killed or got rid of the cat, then he loses the estate. They establish that. So he gets the
Yeah, so
dog to
just-
do it, so it's a freak accident.
Just shoot the cat and then throw it in the river. No one
Yeah.
noticed the first time.
Yeah, I
Right.
guess. You're right. My bad. My B.
I think that there's a plot hole in this movie.
I'm really holding out because so here's where we're at. This is the climax. So our evil man. Does anybody know his actual name?
Lord Dungy or something.
Oh yeah, Lord Ducky,
Yeah.
Dargis.
Yeah, Lord Dungus. That's what it was.
So
yeah,
Lord Dung Beetle, he's got two things going on. He's about to get the estate signed over to him because Garfield or Prince is gone. So he's about to get the estate signed over to him, and also he's about to sell the land to build the condos. So he's got these two things going on, and both people are meeting him at the same time to do both of these things. So he's got to get it signed over to him first, and then he's got to sign the paperwork with the lady who he was creepily sexually assaulting earlier in the movie to get the condos
Right.
built. So those are our two main build-ups, and we're at the climax of those two things. They keep moving around from room to room to room because he keeps seeing the cats, or what he thinks is one cat at the moment, and it keeps following him around. And
right. And if they see the cat, they know that it's alive and he can't get the estate.
correct, yes. If they see the cat, then it's all over. So he's moving them around from room to room to room, and then we get to the climax of the movie, which is he gets them all in the same room together. He realizes that they have been working together, and they see the cat, and they actually see both of them. They see both Garfield and Prince in the same room at the same time. And so when this happens, he picks up a crossbow.
This is where
it's a
I
natural
started to like the movie again.
This is
Yeah, I
where it
wish-
re-engaged me. He
I
picks
wish
up
the
a
movie was
crossbow.
more-
As soon as
more
he
like
started
this.
going full postal, I was back on board.
He gets a crossbow and then he holds people hostage.
Right, and he's at arrow point.
It was
trying
such a quick jump.
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It was-
because
it
up
was
to this
really
point-
weird.
Up to this point, he's been like seedy businessman, whatever, and now he's a murderer. Like,
yeah, it was a really
Attempted
weird
murder.
jump.
My client did nothing.
it's such a weird
Sure.
jump to go from I'm trying to get rid of this cat to I'm literally gonna shoot you with a crossbow if you don't sign this paperwork. And so as he's freaking out and the cats are there and they're trying to save the day and he's attempting to shoot these people, John Arbuckle comes in. The dog bites him first.
Had a nice heroic moment. That I guess that dog eating pant thing that was payoff, I guess.
So the dog bites him in the crotch. He drops his crossbow. John Arbuckle gets it and holds this man at gunpoint. Liz is there because that's the whole reason she was in England to begin with, was to be here for this. So John Arbuckle is holding our antagonist at arrow point while he picks up another gun, and then that's when he gets bit by the dog, I guess, where he drops the gun. Like, it's insane. Just this whole thing happens in the last like 5 minutes of the movie. And so the police come in and they arrest our British friend. Garfield
movie's
walks
been-
up.
The
Go
movie's been tame enough up to this point. Like, it's been wacky, but it's not been insane. And then within 3 seconds, he picks up a crossbow and attempts to murder people.
It's not even that it hasn't been insane up until this point, because the concept itself is an insane premise, but it's not the same kind of insanity that was established with this character. It was just like it was like he just had a schizophrenic break, which I guess works maybe. I like that.
He had his
I
Joker
like
moment.
funny, right? I like
And-
he's a funny British man.
And so he gets arrested, whatever. John Arbuckle decides, this is the time I need to propose. and so...
As a man is being dragged out and he's clawing his way back into the room.
And so
and he's saying, "This is my place."
he can't find his ring. And then Garfield walks up with the ring in his mouth, symbolizing, I support this now. and Garfield proposes to Liz, and it's this happy ending, and she says yes, and it's great. And then I guess they get to stay in the castle.
Yeah,
Is that
they left the post
implication?
credits.
I mean, the rest of this movie, they never go back home.
Interesting.
So
You think that was a setup for Garfield 3 before
Possibly.
this movie got a
A
12?
tale of three kitties.
tomatoes?
Yeah, I think it is.
it's there's a third cat. Garfield and Prince have a baby.
It's like a cat from France that comes over to visit for diplomatic relations, and then it gets another mix up between all three of them. The French cat ends up in the English castle, Garfield ends up in France, and Prince ends up back in with John Argyle.
But if John Arbuckle
Yeah.
lives in the castle, what does that imply, Josh? How do
John Arbuckle and Liz get a divorce, and Liz keeps the castle.
And Garfield
How you
is
doing, Bobbin?
misogynist.
We're writing our Garfield 3 fan film.
Oh, nice. I can help with that.
Yeah, so we just talked about the third act of the movie, which you hated as much as I did, up
Yes.
until the last 5 minutes where it gets interesting. Would you like to just share your thoughts on the 25-minute chase scene where nothing happens?
You barely even call it a chase scene. Like
Yeah.
it was. I don't know
It is-
what that scene
It's
was. It was
just like it's nothing.
Yeah, it was just boring slapstick with no charm.
It was barely even slapstick though.
Nothing
Like,
happened.
I mean, it was like slapsticky. Oh, look how goofy he's gonna fall. Ooh. That was kind of it.
And then he holds them at gunpoint. Like that's
he does. He pulls out the blunderbuster after John
No,
takes the
no.
crossbow.
What got me was John pulling out the crossbow. I was like, who wrote that in?
I don't know. I'm glad they did.
at that point I'm back on board because
Unhinged.
it's something that's happening. But the contrast between the 25 minutes of nothing, contrasted
25
with
minutes of Billy Connolly going, "Hey, can I have the castle yet? Can I have the castle yet?" And then
Yeah, the castle.
Five-
Oh my God, that's a cat. Oh wait, there's that. Wait, I just saw that cat. Now the cat's there. How did the cat move so quickly? And then he's just.
and then him
suddenly-
trying to shoot people and murder them.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, that's-
insane.
we've
It's
all been
such
there.
it's so weird.
The twist is that there's actually two kitties.
A tale. This
Yo.
is a tale of two kitties.
No.
No,
It is
Huh?
it. See, you say that, and I can tell by your inflection that you mean a tail as in TALE, but it is not. It is
No,
a
as I was
TAIL,
saying-
meaning
as I
these
was
two
saying
cats
that, I was
share
thinking-
one tail.
As I was saying that, I was thinking, do you think they toyed around with having that as the actual title?
It is the actual title.
It is. That is the title of the movie.
The title is a tale, TAIL, of two kitties.
The title is Giant and in a trench coat.
I have
Nobody
to,
gets that reference except for us, and it was so funny. You just slipping it in. I hate this movie.
Oh, did you guys talk about how the Prince CGI was much worse than the Garfield CGI?
no, but you've
true.
been here, so you know that we haven't talked about it.
I might
We could have mentioned that at the beginning before Josh was here.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So Prince's CGI is significantly worse than Garfield's, which is weird because it's the same model.
It's the exact same CG model. Yeah.
They
I
didn't
think
even
they
change
started
anything.
Working like the Garfield scenes were probably priority.
They were, well, these were the oh, Christ.
Yeah. That was a good one.
I'm
man.
throwing the whole joke out.
It's time for the classic segment of the podcast, which is Josh doesn't understand what a word means and or can't say a word.
I was trying to say VFX artist, and my mind and mouth wouldn't let me communicate with each other.
Man.
I
The
gotta
effect of Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties.
I gotta chime in and say
How Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties broke me.
me personally, I am a Garfield enjoyer. Like I'm a big Garfield fan. I got my Garfield calendar.
Your big Garfield head.
I'm a Garfhead. This movie was not fun. This is we watched. I wasn't here for the podcast, but I watched Stuart Little, and I that kind of like blew my expectations out of the water. Stuart Little was good. This movie
Yeah,
was
Stuart
not
Little-
good.
Stuart Little was great. Stuart Little
Stuart-
wasn't even just good; it was genuinely
We
great.
really started on the best note we could.
Stuart
And
Little
then-
set this expectation of these movies can actually be not only enjoyable but also like heartfelt, and they can
Right, they can be genuinely well-made movies,
Right,
and then
And then we watched Yogi Bear.
and this.
They can be a great adaptation while also being a good movie on its own.
Well, so Yogi Bear, I think the problem was we still had Shyamalan glasses on when we watched Yogi Bear, and at this point they have faded from me. Like the Shyamalan goggles are gone, and I can see this movie for what it truly is, which is horrible. And like I said, the first 25 minutes or so are actually charming and fun and enjoyable, and they're good little character bits with these two little characters, even though the actors don't at all care about what they're doing. And there's a little British mouse who says, "Oi, they're going to kill us. We've got to be careful." And that's great.
There's a ferret who's an alcoholic.
And
I
there's
liked him. He
also
was funny.
what was the other thing that got me? I don't even remember what it was at this point. Oh, it was in the Oliver Twist reference that Garfield makes when he says, "Please, sir, may I have some more?" in a British act. No, it was Prince who made it about the
Prince saying it
lasagna.
after he had lasagna. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was good. And then, but anything after they truly switch places is just boring and nothing. And it's like it's all just getting to this point where evil British mustache man holds people at gunpoint, and that's where we were building to. And
Also
Which is
worth
a
noting.
weird thing for us to be building to, but
Isn't it?
here we are.
Worth noting that while I am a Garf head, Dalton is an anti-Garf head, so he kind of has a bias against Garfield, which may impact his enjoyment of this
You
film.
have a bias
Of the
against
feature film?
Garfield. What do you,
I'm just
what do you
not-
got against the Garf?
I'm just not a Garf head. You know, I'm not an anti-Garf head. I'm just not a big Garf man. It's not my
You know, this movie has made me less of a golf head than I was before. I think.
it's
That's
more
the
like,
worst thing.
you know,
I was a pretty big golf head. I had lasagna, and I hated Mondays, and now I think I like Mondays.
I guess
There's,
that's where I'm at. It's
there's
like I've always
there's a
liked
guy-
Mondays, you know.
There's a guy in this movie. I don't know what role he played. It just says additional voices, but his name is Mark Sussman.
Oh, that was a funny little bit too, where Garfield comes out to the people and he says, "I hate Mondays,
Mondays.
so I'm
I
decreeing that there are no more
him
Mondays."
liked him that he gets a bit of power, and that's the first thing he does is gets rid of Mondays.
He-
Funny little
he-
cat
of
who
that.
hates
He
Monday.
says today is now Tuesday.
The cat like lasagna, but don't like Monday, and he is fat.
Lasagna.
And he
Exactly.
also hates women.
And
What do
he
you think
bullies
of that?
people with special needs.
What do you think of them making Garfield a misogynist in this, Bobbin?
I mean, I think it's pretty comics accurate.
Yeah, true.
Wait, so is this a CBM?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the plot of this movie. After they defeat the bad guy, there's a big pool party at the castle, and then everybody's having a good time. And then, as the credits would insinuate, they don't leave the castle, so they inherit the castle. I guess, like maybe Prince, as the executor of the estate, tells them they can stay.
How would Prince the cat, which they cannot understand, relay this information to
But
them?
they can. That's the weird thing about both of the cats. Like
Oh
they
my
can't
God,
understand
they
them
just-
speaking, but they can
just
sort of
ruined
understand
the
them.
realism.
Like they can sort of understand them, you know? It's a little odd and
I
inconsistent.
mean, they can understand them as much as you can understand like a normal cat, like when a cat be meowing by the food it
well,
wants
like-
food.
How do you
Yeah,
know
and you can
that
tell
a
it
cat
likes
likes
food.
how
Because it
how
would-
does John Arbuckle know that Garfield the cat wants a whole bowl of lasagna? How did
you
he
know
get to that
Huey
point?
likes a
That's probably-
specific brand of food?
It was probably set up in Garfield 1.
Yeah, and
You
also,
read the Garfield comics.
Yeah.
Garfield likes lasagna.
Yeah.
And also, like, cats will just eat stuff that they really like and really want to eat, and then not eat anything else.
I don't know if that's true,
I
but
think cats just be eating.
right.
No,
I think cats will eat
my
whatever you give them
I've
because
got
they need
some.
to survive.
No, I've got a friend who has a cat, a particularly grumpy cat, very Garfield-like, I might add.
I think Garfield.
And he refuses any
Shit
brand
tripping.
other.
He think he Garfield.
He refuses any brand other than a specific type called Dreamies.
I think that cat is just spoiled, maybe.
No, he's just a bit of he's fat.
He's not getting
Yeah.
fat eating that expensive food. That's what I'm. All right, so that's the end of the movie. Garfield is over.
Dalton didn't even finish that one.
He probably gave up.
So Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties ends. A TAIL of Two Kitties, it ends, and we celebrate. I guess my thing with this movie, it kind of goes back like with Yogi Bear, which we watched last week. Yogi Bear was bad, but it was the best possible version of that movie.
Right. Well, it took the idea of Yogi Bear because the Yogi Bear formula is very simple. Yogi Bear wants food. He takes food
The
from
bear
picnics.
wanted the picnic basket.
Right, and that they took that and they went, okay, how do we make this into a movie? You make it so that him stealing picnic baskets makes the park fail. It's simple, but it works. Garfield did not do that because it's kind of a miracle you get one movie out of Garfield, let alone two.
But the problem is,
I feel like there's a lot of Garfield movie potential. This just doesn't.
well, the problem is this isn't a bad
anything.
concept for a Garfield movie.
No, it is.
Garfield and his rich British counterpart switching places and having to adjust and then eventually coming together. Like this movie could have been fine. Not good, but fine. Like Yogi Bear couldn't have been better than it was. This movie could have been significantly better than it was with some tweaks. And I guess that's where I'm at. Like you got Bill Murray playing Garfield. That's great. You know? You got Tim
You have
Curry.
Bill Murray not wanting to play Garfield playing Garfield.
Right.
You've got Tim Curry playing British Garfield. That's great.
Warner
the idea of
Brothers-
British Garfield as a concept is hilarious to me. Like
Warner Brothers said that Batgirl was cancelled because they didn't have enough faith in it. And this studio put this out. They marketed this.
was this
I actually have some fun little tidbits because I just Googled it. There's actually a Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties video game.
I did know that.
I did
Really?
because I played it.
Insane.
What-
Why?
What is that video game? What? How?
The lasagna.
It's just it's
one
just
of the levels in the game is you have to make the lasagna like they did in the movie.
well, it's not
No,
that you have
I
to
like
make the
that
lasagna,
theme.
but you have to find the lasagna, and it's like a little collectible basically.
I like the scene of Garfield making the lasagna. I'm like, wow,
I
that's
did.
an
I really
independent
love that.
Garfield.
There was,
a
from
funny
what I
little
remember,
Garfield
there was a dance mini game where you had to input the right button prompts or whatever, and then Garfield would do dances on various things.
What?
Oh,
It's very
Daniel, we
strange,
didn't talk about it. At the end of the movie, Garfield and Prince have a little dance and then they dap each other up.
That is true. I think
That-
the dance was after the dap up. The dap up was when they beat up the mustachioed British man.
That was the
I know
most
that because I
excited
looked up
Dawn's
the
ever
clip and
sounded about a
screen
movie
recorded
we've talked about.
It's the most excited I've ever heard Dalton sound.
And yeah, and I was at his wedding.
But yeah, so the two kitties, they dap up because they share a tail.
A
Right.
tale of two kitties, if you will.
They are two kitties with one tail.
All right, final thoughts and best movie ever or worst movie ever. Bobbin,
That's
you go
my favorite
first.
video.
What?
My favorite video. Two kitties, two tails.
Shut up.
Please.
Wow.
Okay. So, if
You are not Bobbin, but Daniel, you can go ahead.
well, I'm presenting a new prompt because I don't think I can answer the best or worst movie ever with this one because I think it's both in my head. But if this movie were being used as torture propaganda and you were being bleeded for government secrets, at what point would you give in and betray your country to stop watching this movie?
Like how many watches? Like
Yeah.
how many times would you watch it?
Well, if you think you can survive,
Or
watching
yeah,
it once.
if you think you could get through it again.
Third act completely. I mean, I think I could watch it.
See, if I got to the
once.
third act, I think I'd be able to.
You've
push
already
through a
watched
little
it
bit longer.
once. I know I can watch it once because I did for this podcast, so it's not like
I
I'm
mean,
getting...
if it's
I can
playing
watch
on
it at least
repeat.
once again. I think by the time it got to the third act the second time, that's when I'd give up state secrets. I wouldn't care anymore.
I think. See, for me, I think it'd be the start of the second watch because I'd know what I'd be going into, and I think
Yeah,
at
that's
that
why I
point-
think this is a little bit flawed, because by the time that opening narration starts, I'm gonna be like, oh no, I gotta sit through this again. Yeah, no, the nukes are hidden here.
Yeah, I could probably tolerate it up until the third act.
it's so dry. This is a very British movie because it's very dry, like the food.
Did we discuss
Dry
Joshua
and it makes you
Clement's
miserable.
rating of British culture?
We did.
Okay.
It is not. I would rate this a solid 3 crumpets out of 5,
Nice.
and by that I mean I spit on this movie.
No, that's a good movie.
Bobbin, when we were
Bobbin,
watching it,
best movie ever, worst movie ever? Because I'm curious.
Best movie.
Bobbin
Okay.
would never give up his state secrets.
Josh, best movie ever, worst movie ever?
I could get through about. I think I'd get through the movie probably about once, and then halfway through the second watch is when I'd try.
We need
and-
a new.
Cool. You already
narrative,
said that. You already said that. So I
Yeah, that's-
asked a different question.
No, I'm sticking.
new
I'm sticking with that.
narrative prompt every
Yeah.
week.
We need a new bit.
We need a new rating
need a
system
new
every
bit.
week.
We need a new podcast.
Okay, that's it. Everyone gets a rating system. You have to come up with it on your own and introduce it next week. That's your homework.
Well,
Okay.
I came up with mine. Mine was the torture one.
I came up with that. We talked about that months ago.
No, the torture one was mine. You came up with the best or worst movie ever.
We've come up with many. That's.
I'm giving this worst movie ever.
I'm giving this best movie ever.
Based.
I'm gonna give it best movie ever just to make it unanimous against Dalton. 'Cause he's the reason we had to watch this movie.
But also,
I will
it's also
say,
worth
out
noting
of
that any
movie ever.
movies that we have a majority best movie ever on, we will be rewatching at the end of the year.
Right.
I have a question. Why did we watch this one instead of Garfield 1?
because the title was
I
A
think-
Tale,
yeah.
Tail of Two Kitties.
I didn't even know that it was tail until you mentioned that.
Yeah, no, I thought it was just like tailed, and then as I was saying it, I
Right.
thought
I didn't
You know,
think that
that
they
would
would
be a
put
really good
two
pun.
cat puns in the title
What's the other
and
pun?
also put that title in a giant Tale of Two Kitties, like cities, like the novel or play.
Is that a
Tale
pun
of
or is
Two
that just the
Cities.
word?
Well, no, it's a play on words.
Yeah, it's
or
a
a
pun.
play on the word city because that's the title of the play or whatever.
Nah,
It's also in a giant trench coat.
I don't I don't read books.
Right.
So I think the reason we went with Garfield 2 as opposed to Garfield, Simon and
I think we
Garfield.
thought that there would be more to talk about, and we're probably right.
Me and Josh read some reviews for this movie, and several of them said that this was an improvement on the first movie.
right. Saying
So-
that,
Yeah,
people
There were
did
also,
say.
there were also
people-
several reviews that said Old was a great movie.
I was gonna say
so-
people said that The Visit was M Night Shyamalan's best movie ever.
God,
Yeah.
that movie is terrible.
All right, we finished
Okay.
Garfield 2.
All right,
A
new
Tale of Two
prompt. Would you rather watch?
Like, this or The
Um,
Visit.
Well, okay, so for the rest of your life, it's either you can only watch this or you can only watch The Visit. Or actually, no, not even you can only watch The Visit. You can watch any movie, but you have to watch The Visit every night before you go to bed.
Do I
Which
also
would-
have to
which
watch
would-
this
which would
movie
you
every night
rather?
before I go to bed?
No,
No, it's just the only movie you can watch. Either the only movie you can watch is Garfield 2, a TAIL of two kitties, or you can watch any movie you want, but you have to watch M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit every night before you go to sleep. Which one would you choose?
If I don't watch a movie, if I don't watch a movie in that day, will I still have to watch
You
The
still
Visit?
have to
Yeah,
watch it.
you still have to
yeah.
watch The
Okay.
Visit.
No, I think I'm picking this is the only movie I can ever watch, and I'll just never watch a movie ever again in my life.
Well, at least we can finally end this fucking podcast.
At least I
I'll
don't.
return for Chris Pratt's Garfield movie.
We probably will, if I'm being honest.
The
At that
first
point, we'll
Garfield
be able-
movie will
we'll
We'll just
probably
do a
be
Garfield sweep at that point.
when we do
Yeah.
when we do our sequels to movies we've already seen. The first Garfield movie may be on that list.
True.
The only thing I know that will for certain be on that list is Stuart Little 2.
Right.
Stuart Little as well.
And still a little 3.
Because we already watched Yogi Bear too, so we might as well keep that.
Right.
All right. So that's it. That's the end. We are wrapping this up. If you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and like and do all of the regular YouTube things. If you are listening on any of our regular streaming platforms, go ahead and rate this podcast because that helps to push it out to other people. We do new episodes of this just about every week. Next week, we're going to be watching another movie. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. We're going to all enjoy our time that we get to spend together. So thanks for watching, and thanks for listening to this episode of Semi Pro.
I always like to say morning, 'cause if it was a good morning, I'd be fishing.